Obviously some big plays in the passing game by Middle Tennessee last time out. Can you talk a little bit about that and maybe how it's been addressed before North Carolina?
Yeah, well, the first thing you got to know is if you see something on tape or you see it on the field, okay, and it doesn't look right, that's on me, okay? It's not, it's the players play, coaches coach, that's a coaching job. So it's my responsibility. It totally falls on me 100% to get it rectified. Now, to address that and assess that, it was really very uniquely different. I've been in games before where you would be playing a certain coverage and they would attack it a certain way, or maybe a personnel mismatch where you had a mismatch and they just keep attacking the same thing. That was really a very different deal in that we had 4 big plays that were they were probably defined the game. They really did. And like I said, that's on me. But those 4 plays, when you break it down, 2 of them were in the same coverage, but 2 completely different areas of attack. One of those was just technique-wise. We need to clean up some technique there. The other one was a 5-yard route and 2 missed tackles and a backside leverage guy that fell down. So that's what that was. The other 2, one of them was a miscommunication versus an empty set, and then the other one was a technique error that falls completely squarely on my shoulders. We got good players, we got good guys that bought in, they're very coachable. So when something like that happens, it starts and ends with me. And so I got to get it fixed. We worked very hard. It wasn't something that we saw coming. I don't think any of us in the room that would say that. Didn't see it in spring, didn't see it in the fall camp, didn't see it the first 3 games in terms of that. But to have that happen in 4 times is unacceptable. We've got some communications and some technique things that fall on me again to get cleaned up. And they've come to work with a great attitude. They have a lot of want to. It's very positive. We worked very hard, and the off-season help us came at the right. The off game helped us. It came before we started conference play. It came at the right time. To be quite frankly.
Coach, the North Carolina offense is playing well behind a very good quarterback. What do you see from him, and how do you defend him?
Well, I think that's a $64 million question. One of those I'm going to reserve the right to not completely answer it because I know Coach Brown pretty well. I coach with 3 of their offensive coaches, and all of those guys are very intelligent guys and they can read. So I don't think I'm going to expose the game plan to you, if that's okay. He's a big guy, number 1. And so when you look at him, you think, kind of the prototype quarterback NFL build, but he's like the Buffalo Bills guy in that he is a willing runner and very capable runner. He throws the ball very accurately. He disperses it around. Phil, the offensive coordinator Longo, does a really good job schematically. They've got very talented receivers. They get the ball out of their hand quick. They do run tempo offense, and so he gets it out of his hand really quick. He's accurate with it. But probably the thing that pops up more than anything, particularly in the start of the games, when he's starting out in the first quarter, because some of their games have been high scoring and lopsided, is that he keeps the chains moving. He extends drives with not 40, 50-yard scrambles. It's not like Lamar Jackson running around out there and you got Nintendo football or whatever they play now. I don't even know what it is. Y'all plug in the word that they play for now, whatever those things are called. Where he's just bouncing around and you can't tackle him. That's not it. He can make a big play because he can run, but he just extends drives. They need 12 yards on a 3rd and 10. I mean, a 3rd and 10, they need 10 yards and he scrambles for 12. It's 2nd and 6 and everything's bottled up. You got it covered and he scrambles for 7. He just extends plays. But they've got their wide receiver core across the board is very good. Obviously, number 11's is the go-to guy. He missed some games, very good player. But then in total catches, I think the tight end's got 13, 14, and 6 catches among them. So really that position is right up there with the slot position has 22 and 16 catches. So, you know, they're right there equal in terms of distribution of the ball.
Coach Steve, you've been in a lot of locker rooms over the years, many I'd say. How would you say?
A few.
How would you say the attitude is in the locker room after that performance? Because it felt like coming off the A&M game, you guys were building confidence. Is the confidence shaking?
Anytime that happens at that moment, you know, I mean, instant response at that moment before you have time to evaluate it, before you have time to regroup. Obviously, everybody has emotions, but not divisive at all, not in any way, shape, or form. And then our head coach, who you guys talk to all the time, I mean, he has a way to communicate what he needs to communicate in a positive, reinforcing, we will get it corrected manner, in which makes it believable and able to buy into. And so we just, everybody hurts, you know, the 24-hour rule. You've heard it before. You got 24 hours to get over it, and then you got to bounce back. The thing that was a little bit difficult in terms of just from my perspective is didn't play the next week. So you know that was a little bit painstaking, but we got through it.
Coach, Keontre Smith got the start against Middle Tennessee. He's playing a lot over the past few weeks.
Who's that now?
Keontre Smith. What have you really seen from him so far to really allow that his role has increased?
Well, what we're doing there is, I mean, we're a situational matchup group. So depending on what we're seeing, how we're seeing it, that's kind of how some of those decisions are made. But he's progressed very nicely. He's a smart guy. He's very coachable. He works hard. So you know, it shows up in his playing time.
Gilbert Frierson, is there any type of plan trying to get him more involved?
Yes.
Forward?
Yes. We're searching that. In that, you know, he's really he's got a very high football IQ. He's a really smart player. When you get into those personnel matchups and where to put him and how to put him and those kind of things, we've done some searching there. We've tweaked it a few times. We've recently tweaked it again. But he's smart enough to do that. It's not like he has to move position and it's 6 weeks before he can play. That's not him at all. He's very communicative. He understands what he does plus what somebody else does, so it makes it a little easier. But you are correct in your assessment in that, yes, we are. We're working that hard.
Tyreek Stevenson, I know you didn't finish the game, Tyreek. Just curious where he's at, and I know he's a big time part of his team. Yeah, well, first of all, as you know, as an assistant coach, I do not comment on injuries at all. Right.
I've been doing this long enough to not know that, so I don't go there. But he's, as far as I know, he's doing fine. He's doing fine.
Kevin, these guys have developed a system since Matt got there where they're capable of like flicking a switch and scoring a lot of points in bunches. What exactly are they doing, and what's been the secret potion for them?
Well, Phil was at Ole Miss, you know, and so we played him every year while he was at Ole Miss with Hugh Freeze, and then with Matt Luke as the offensive coordinator. It's very quarterback driven in terms of, you know, when they have a quarterback that can get the ball out of hand and disperse it to the right place at the right time with accuracy. Because it does go fast. It's not, and I think he would tell you this. I'm not trying to put it. It's not overly complex. But they run precision routes. Got a little bit of the Mike Leach run to open space. You know, not totally, but you know they're going to find the seams and they're going to look for personnel mismatches.
Anything else for Coach Steele?
On Avante Williams, I noticed you had mentioned this probably a few games back, that he wasn't cross-trained for playing as free safety. Noticed over the last course of a few games, he's been playing some free safety as well, aside from the strong side.
Right.
Can you go a little more into that?
Sure, I can. We name it strong safety, free safety. The place I came from, it was right safety and left safety. So that's a little bit of a misnomer. You know, there are hashes in college football, but as you know, if you watch very much, there's some teams that exploit the boundary as much as they exploit the field. In the NFL, it's almost in the middle of the field, so which is which. And when you've got so much formation in the boundary now that you get, there's not a lot of difference. I mean, cross-training that position, you can call them strong safety, free safety, play one to the field, play one to the boundary, but the way the game is gone with formations now, it's about the same thing.
What was your assessment on Daryl Porter and how he played with his snaps against Middle Tennessee?
Much improved, much improved. Confidence, he's kind of feeling the confidence of things, and you know, he's a transfer guy at a very, very, I guess the word for it, pressure-driven position, and it new system, those kind of things. There's some growth there, and I think you saw him grow. You did. It was evident on the tape.
With the injuries at cornerback, will Al Blades be looked at to playing a little more cornerback here in the future?
Everything's on the table to play the best players in the situation that presents itself. So again, you gotta catch me in a rough spot here because you know, do you show your cards when you're playing cards at the card table? I'd rather not mine either. If it was just for the Miami fans, I'd be great. But the problem is that this day and age, you know, back in the day, you could have a press conference, and if you had one in Miami, nobody in North Carolina was going to get the paper. And they had no way of getting the paper unless their grandmother brought it back from vacation to them. All right? When y'all walk out of here, they're going to be able to read exactly what I said within 3 minutes. So forgive me on that if you don't mind.
How do you feel about?
All I want is an unfair advantage.
So yeah, how do you feel about some of the guys who haven't played as much quarterback depth, guys like Jaden Harris, Kamari Rogers, Malik Curtis, and those guys, how they progressed over the last couple weeks?
Well, you know, we have a thing on Fridays where we actually scrimmage the young guys who have not. You know, we got to build it into the 20-hour rule, but we have a scrimmage. We get a good amount of snaps to work those guys, so that's helped them progress. And then just being in the system and growing in the system, and then the off week allowed us to get up some more work too. So obviously, always building for the future of next Saturday, and the future of next year, and the future of beyond that.
Coach,
Do a couple more for Coach Steele.
And just more specifically about Jaden Harris, you know, he played some key moments against Middle Tennessee. What has he shown so far as a true freshman that has allowed him to play, you know, such a big role so far, so early into his career?
Well, I think the first thing you've seen is injuries. You know, the number 1 star and the number 2 star went down, so he had to go in. And but he's a smart guy. He's worked hard. It wasn't like we were standing over wringing our hands because he was in at all. He's progressing very, very nicely. But that, you know, it's kind of like, you know, next man up, and that's what happened in the situation.
On Isaiah Dunson, we had noticed he made some progression towards the spring. One of the guys standing out a bit back then.
Right.
He's played a bit sparingly through the first few games. Is there any sort of ability to play more?
Well, you know, our job is to do this, and not to say he's not, okay, but we get a lot of questions nowadays about depth charts and who's playing and why they're not playing, who's not. At the end of the day, we can only put 11 guys on the field, okay? And I don't think there's anybody in the room that wouldn't look at things and say, okay, based on this situation and this play and who's they've got on the field, who's the best 11 to put out there? And now, are we always right? No, we're not always right. Do we work to always have more we can do it? Yes, we do. But we can only put 11 out there. And as you well know, at corner's almost like quarterback. You just don't substitute to see it substituted. You know, I mean, it's got to be a situation where, you know, okay, it's time to substitute at this position, because you're on an island out there. You're on an island, and so we wish we could play everybody all the time. Every game, everybody come in the locker room and everybody get 50 snaps. But they only allow us to put 11 out there, and if we put more, they're gonna call a penalty on us, and then we run out of snaps at some point in time. So it's not that we're not working for that. It's not that we'd not like to see that. It's just that that's the way it works, realistically. being very candid with you.
Coach, and then
The last question for Coach Steele.
how would you evaluate your team's tackling so far through 4 games?
We have made a lot of improvement, some of us more than others, but it's the confidence is coming, the ability to get guys to the ball and not get singled up on tackles coming. Again, as you well understand, there's a lot. I mean, that's a work in progress. You can ask that for every press conference I stand in there for the rest of the time I'm here, and then the next guy that's standing here can ask him. And the reason it is because there's so little opportunities in spring and in the fall camp to tackle to the ground. You just don't have it. Well, last time I looked, that's what a tackle is. So, I mean, do you play golf?
Do not know.
Okay, if you did, you would probably go out in your backyard and swing the club very nicely and think, dream, boy, that went down the fairway. Okay, but you get on the golf course and it went in the rough. Why? Because you had to really hit the ball somewhere. Well, you have to tackle them to the ground, and the best way to get that is to be able to do it. That makes sense.
Thanks, Coach.
All right, thanks, guys.
Thank you.